Hi, this is Daryl Meyer from Keller, Texas. Today is Wednesday, September 30th, 2009. Hey, I want to talk to you today about the Lisbon Treaty. Does anybody know what this is? I've got some friends and relatives that actually live in England, and I've spoken to them about this. They're like, I don't know what that is. I have no idea. Something this huge, this important, and people that live there don't even know what it is. The Lisbon Treaty is basically a treaty that would probably finally come into effect this year. It is basically something that is going to help the EU, the European Union, to become more democratic, more transparent, more efficient. It is basically like the United States of Europe, is what a lot of people are calling it. And this is an attempt to streamline the EU institutions to make the enlarged bloc of 27 states function even better. But opponents see it as part of a federalist agenda that threatens national sovereignty. I mean, already you can drive from France to England. Well, I guess you'd have to cross the channel, but you can drive through all of Europe without having to show your papers, without checkpoints at the different countries, but they won't be called countries any longer. They'll be called states. And they are looking for Ireland to ratify this in the second referendum. They have a vote coming up, I believe, October 2nd, here in just a few days. A couple of days, actually. And the last time, Ireland blocked it, and it has taken them quite a while to redraw everything and to get things back to the table to where Ireland will hopefully agree to it. But there's a new story coming out that says, hey, you know what? If Ireland doesn't agree to this, guess what? We're just going to do it without them, and they simply will not have a commissioner. So they won't have a voice. Why is this important? Well, it's important because here we have the European Union, which, if you are into Bible prophecy, and I am, it is pretty clear that the Antichrist will come out of a revived Holy Roman Empire. And the makings of the EU, the European Union, very much look like the Holy Roman Empire coming back into play. Now you may say, well, I've heard of the Roman Empire. What's this Holy Roman Empire? Well, of course, the Roman Empire was, they were pretty much the world leader about 200 BC until about 300 AD. For about 500 years, the Romans pretty much ruled the world. And, you know, they were the ones that pretty much had Jesus crucified on the cross. That's why all pictures and paintings you see of Jesus' crucifixion on the cross, you see Roman soldiers, because they were the ones that were actually carrying out the deed of doing this. And, you know, the Holy Roman Empire was born in 800 AD when they crowned Charlemagne and said, I now make you the leader of the Holy Roman Empire. And it has been a leading ruler in many parts of the world for about 1,000 years after that, off and on. And then it just kind of disappeared. Well, now the EU seems to have all the makings of this Holy Roman Empire. So it's now you may say, well, you know, what's the big deal with that? Well, you know, there was only 2 EU members that did not ratify the treaty previously, and that was the Czech Republic and Poland. And interestingly enough, that's exactly the 2 locations that Obama just said, oh, you know what, I'm not going to put that missile defense shield there like President Bush had promised. Coincidence? I don't know. Seems kind of weird. You're probably thinking, Daryl, why are you telling me this? I'm telling you this because you don't hear this in the news very much, and it's incredibly important. And most people are so worried about the little things, you know, their favorite TV show, and, you know, what happened in the news in my town today, and what's the weather going to be like tomorrow. You know, there's so many more big, important things that are happening that I think people need to know about, so that's why I'm here. Anyway, this story out of the EU Observer says the Czech Republic will not be able to appoint a new commissioner if it continues to block the Lisbon Treaty. Okay, so if the Lisbon Treaty is not ratified because of President Klaus's refusal to sign, the European Commission will be reduced. But they're saying, wait a minute, guys, we're probably going to go ahead without them. So this is a very big development in the EU's growth. Let me just talk about this a little further. There's a lot of things coming up in this world that people need to grasp, need to be aware of. I mean, the Bible prophesies that a world government will be set up prior to the Battle of Armageddon and the second coming of Jesus Christ. Do you see any makings of a world government coming into play? I mean, even now in America, our own government is trying to control us in all kinds of ways. This healthcare bill they're trying to do, they're basically trying to find a way to control us. You know, if they can control our health and when we can go to the doctor or not and how we can pay for it, they can control a lot about our lives. You know, they've gotten into the banking industry, they've gotten into the automobile industry. You know, here they are trying to get into the healthcare, and our government's growing too big. Don't get me started on the government. That's a whole another message. But you know, this world government will be in place, and you know what? As much as I hate it, it's going to happen. You know how I know? Because the Bible prophesies it. So we're going to have this world-class politician, referred to in the scripture as the Antichrist or the Beast, and he will rule that one world government for 3.5-year period immediately before the Battle of Armageddon. And you can find this in Revelation 13:5 and also in Daniel 7 verse 25. And according to the Bible prophecies, there are several things that have to happen to set the stage for the appearance of the Antichrist. These include the confirmation of the Abrahamic covenant by the world community, a war that will kill 1/3 of mankind, the building of Israel's third temple, and the establishment of a world economic system for controlling people and forcing their obedience to the world government and to the Antichrist himself. You think these things are happening now? Well, the formation of the world government system of the Antichrist is emerging all around us. I mean, we already have the World Trade Organization, the World Health Organization, the World Bank, the World Court. You know, they've recently put a world leader in jail because of world court laws that were violated. We're seeing a lot of things happening so fast right now. Let's see. Now, the Abrahamic covenant. This is the covenant that God made with Abraham in Genesis 15:8. Let me go there real quick. That says, on that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram and said to Abram, and said, to your descendants I give this land from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates. So God gave this land, and most of this roadmap for peace that they've been working on since 2002, well, they've changed it up a little bit. But the three things that this covenant talks about are the very things they're working on right now. The status of Jerusalem, the borders of Israel, and the status of the Temple Mount. Those three things are what they're working on right now. Abbas, Netanyahu, the Palestinians, Israelis, once they reach an agreement and the world community says, okay, we recognize Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state, here is the borders of Israel, here's the status of Jerusalem, and here's what's happening with the Temple Mount, which, by the way, will be a shared arrangement because we know that in Revelation. Anyway, a lot of info I'm throwing at you real quickly, and you know, I'm throwing in verses here and may not be reading them just so I can give more time to giving you information. Anyway, this World War III thing in Revelation 9 verses 13 through 16, it prophesies a war that will kill 1/3 of mankind, and this war will emanate from the Euphrates River area. Where is the Euphrates River? Well, about 65% of it is in Iraq. Okay, we currently have 145,000 troops there fighting all along the banks of the Euphrates River, and we've been there for over 6 years, and it's growing. It's growing to Afghanistan. We're having to send people over to Pakistan because their government recently had problems, and they have nukes, so we need to protect those. Who knows what's going to happen with Iran? That's a crazy situation. So, you know, this is growing. It's growing. The third temple. You know, there hasn't been a temple on the Temple Mount since AD 70 when the Romans destroyed it. And in Revelation 11 verses 1 and 2 and 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 3 through 4 both prophesy that a temple will be standing on the Temple Mount when the Antichrist begins his reign. Okay, for the past 25 years the Temple Institute has had everything they need to complete this temple. They got the tools, they've got the rods and lavers for all the daily sacrifice, they've got the priest robes and the crowns, they've basically got the blueprint completed. I mean, they have everything they need to move forward with this third temple. Okay, we know that during the Great Tribulation that human beings will be forced to take a number or a mark. And this is in Revelation 13, verse 15 through 18. And I don't know if you know, but this Real ID Act that was passed a while back is something similar to that. You ever heard of these RFID chips? You know, if you have a toll tag, you have the same technology. These little chips about the size of a grain of rice. They put it right here in your hand or in your forehead. That could very well be the instrument that brings in the mark of the beast. Don't take it. A lot of things are happening so fast, people. I think the Antichrist will probably be the leader of the UN, which is turning out to be a world government system. Anyway, should we fear for all this? No, because fear is from the devil, not from God. Listen, keep watching. Watch what's really important. Watch what's happening. Pray that you'll be led by the Spirit. Pray that we can live in peace. God bless you all. Good Lord willing, I'll see you again tomorrow.